Hi, everyone, and welcome to Reduce Rework with BIM. Thanks for being here. I'm David Kennedy, the editor of OnSite. First off, I want to thank Autodesk Construction Cloud, the sponsor of today's webinar. Contractors are always up against the clock, and with the ongoing labor challenges, plus added health and safety rules with the pandemic, minimizing rework is essential to staying on budget and delivering on schedule. With that in mind, we're here today with Mike Merwin to look at ways BIM can help you cut down on rework and save you time, labor, and ultimately money on your projects. Mike, an MBA, is an expert in BIM and VDC across a wide variety of project types, delivery models, and geographies. With more than 15 years of experience in the industry at both general contractors and architecture firms, Mike has a wealth of knowledge about the real-world application of BIM and VDC to make construction projects more successful. At Autodesk, Mike helps some of the world's largest design and construction companies manage and implement cutting-edge technology solutions to improve their project outcomes. Before we get started, just one quick housekeeping item. Mike's expecting your questions, so if you're uncertain about anything he touches on, or want to take on an issue, or want his take on an issue, make sure you punch the question into the pane on your right. We'll get to the questions at the end of the presentation, likely about the 30-minute mark, and are aiming to wrap things up at 12:45, at least on my time. With that, I'll hand things over to Mike to get us started. Mike?
Yeah, hey, good day, everyone, wherever you are in the world, whatever time zone you're in. It's a great new week, and it's a sunny day here in Kansas City, where I'm speaking to you from, and I do appreciate the great introduction. Again, my name is Mike Merwin. I'm from here at Autodesk, the Technical Solutions Executive. I came here to Autodesk after 20 years in the industry, doing a wide variety of work between construction, engineering, architecture. Did including some work in up in Canada and in your guys' neck of the woods on some big box retail, some movie theater design, and so it's really a pleasure to be able to talk to you all today, and to talk about a very important subject, and that is really how we're going to reduce rework, leveraging BIM and the Autodesk Construction Cloud. And so today, I just want to cover a couple of little items here before we hop in. Mostly, this is something that we'll want to make sure to cover here from the Autodesk side. There's nothing that we're talking here that's terribly future looking. Everything that we're going to talk about today is something that you can do right now in the tool sets that we're going to take a look at in our platform, the Autodesk Construction Cloud, as well as Assemble. But we want to make sure that you take these statements and these are not intended to be a promise or a guarantee of future delivery of products and services. And so really make sure to understand that, things do change. If I do talk about something that's going to happen in the future, timing is contingent on us being able to get that done. So I just wanted to pass that along. I'll get the housekeeping out of the way. I think we've covered all of this. Please definitely send me some questions as we go through. Happy to address them at the end. And we will be looking at some slides here, but we're also looking at the products themselves. And so I'm excited to show you a little bit about a little tease here, a little bit about our model coordination module within the Autodesk Construction Cloud, as well as some custom property magic with Assemble. So let's dive right in. So we've got a lot of great content to cover today. We'll spend a little bit of time on the slides, but we'll be popping into a couple of platforms. So you've probably heard a lot of chatter about rework, understandably, because the worst case scenario with rework is a nightmare. You've seen where we've seen the teams install something on site and then have to rip it out and reinstall it correctly. It's not just heartbreaking, but it'll annihilate your budget and your schedule. And with typical construction and infrastructure projects, when you only have a 3 to 6% profit margin, the entirety of your profits could be eaten up by that kind of rework. And to put a number to this, FMI estimates rework to cost our industry around $280 billion annually. Obviously, we can't remove rework entirely. It's going to happen, but there's some things we can do to reduce it. And there's really two types of rework that we can focus on. The first one is what I just mentioned, rework that happens on site. We'll key in on a couple of things that you can do to prevent that kind of rework. And additionally, while it's not rework per se, another thing we'll focus on is schedule certainty and work in place tracking. This can help prevent something we've all seen where you have a crew show up, they're ready to pour, but the site's not ready for them. So they have to sit and they have to wait. It's wasting time, it's wasting money. And that can add up to, up to 35% of time on a job site as wasted time. Again, this really translates into the massive number of this type of rework costs that can be caused by poor product data communication. And then finally, really, where are the wins? Where can we get these wins? And the wins that we see here from Autodesk is that very little of the actual data on a project is being used. And so we've identified that up to almost 96% of all the data goes unused in engineering and construction. And one of those large, massive areas of data that we can manage is BIM. It's really the I in BIM, the building information modeling that we want to get into people's hands. And so this is where we're going to talk about a few areas today where we can leverage a few tools to use more of that data. That'll also tie in to help us make our activities more optimal, more strategic to the project, and to ultimately reduce that very large rework number. So the absolute best thing you can do to prevent rework is to start as early as possible with a strong design review and constructability review baked into your coordination process. And so this takes here early in the project's life cycle between design and plan. The more you can catch here, the better off your project's going to be, the less rework you have downstream. So let's talk about that coordination and what you can do to really tighten it up and catch as many problems as possible as early as possible. So this is where we're going to talk a little bit about model coordination and in the way that model coordination is starting to develop and evolve. And model coordination is something that I was, very deeply involved in over the last number of years, almost a decade now, of model coordination, and I lived this workflow. And for far too long, and still in a lot of organizations, we are having that BIM VDC manager receive those models, and from the trades, from the architects, they receive them, they federate them, they aggregate them, put them together, they run the clashes, they review which are clashes, they make a report, they distribute this information back to the team as a whole, they'll review it, and if they can resolve it, they do, and they go back through. And this is a process that does work. However, you can see that there's just a massive bottleneck, of the BIM VDC manager, in this process. And so you really can only work as fast as your BIM people can work. And the communication is really set to work things kind of one at a time. And it would be more efficient if we were able to get more people involved in this process throughout the process and have a more strategic way to be able to review and resolve the coordination issues that we find throughout this activity. And so one of these ways that Autodesk has been working on for a few years now, and really has started to come into its own with Autodesk BIM Collaborate, is the ability to take it and put all of the models, all the information that you have in a coordination space, and have that be an area and a place where we can leverage automation, we can leverage enhanced collaboration, we're going to be able to make it possible for the whole team, to continue to work in the same space. And so that's what we call a coordination space, a place in the cloud where anyone can upload those models, aggregate them, and view them. It's kind of like a Google Drive, but made for BIM. Some of you may also be using some of our tools like Autodesk Glue, and this is taking that to that next level, right? Where we're able to pull this information into a common data environment where the teams as a whole can continue to upload and work it in. And when you do that, you're really starting to leverage the power of the platform. And that's really, when you put it in the coordination space, you're going to start having the machine do some of that work for you. So they're going to go through and they're going to automatically do clash detection and group those clashes in a number of different ways. We'll see how those can be sorted and tweaked automatically. This takes a big part of the bottleneck out of the system, that normally the BIM or VDC manager is doing through something like Navisworks or some other tools, where they're grouping them, they're deciding, where the clashes are. This really helps do a lot of that initial heavy lifting and makes it very easy for a BIM and VDC manager, or even the other teammate stakeholders and teammates on the team, to go in, identify what really is a clash and a coordination issue, and be able to dial in very much strategically on those. And then the second part to this is really where we leverage the power of having a connected construction platform. And this is that spans the entire project lifecycle. So from design all the way through to operations, being able to take this information and then create or assign an issue from it. With all those issues stay within the platform. Everyone that is assigned and working toward those issues has that visibility to them. They have accountability. They've got dates that they have to supply. They're able to get these issues, and not just when the BIM manager is going to send some screenshots in an Excel file over for the meeting, but all during the week now, all through the life of the project. These issues can be created, assigned. They can be resolved even before you have the meetings. So this really helps to streamline that process. It takes the bottleneck out of the way, and it turns on some automation in some additional collaborative tools, which then brings the team together, so it's not just so bottlenecked for the BIM and VDC manager themselves. And all belonging underneath this and underpinning through all this is our design collaboration, and that's where I'm talking about, the coordination space being integrated into our design collaboration area, common data environment, everyone working within the same work set, cloud enabled. They can grab it from anywhere. They can view it, view this information in a number of different meaningful ways. So let's take a look at what some of that looks like here in the wild. So this is model coordination within BIM Collaborate. I'll back up a little bit just to kind of make sure that we're level set here on what Autodesk Construction Cloud looks like. This is our latest achievement here in 2021. We've announced over a year and a half ago about taking the different tool sets that Autodesk has, be it BIM 360, the plan grids, and the acquisitions that Autodesk has made over the last couple of years, integrating them, but then really unifying them into one cohesive, unified platform. And that's what an Autodesk Construction Cloud is. And so this is our one, our single platform, the single sign-on here to log in to see all the projects that you're connected to. You can see these icons here are showing us those Autodesk Construction Cloud projects, as well as maybe some other projects within our Autodesk family, like BIM 360 projects. So going directly into a project, you can see where we can start to leverage all of the information across the project lifecycle. Here within all the different pieces that we have here within Autodesk Build, as well as within BIM Collaborate, which is what we're talking about today, which activates these design, collaboration, and model coordination areas within the project. And so now everything is continuing to work in one common area. You can see recent activity here on my project. Here are 1,600 issues, being tracked within this one project. in a number of different areas with over 100, almost 150 different users. And so this really brings all that information into one single place, and it lets us look at what we're doing within model coordination. So within a model coordination, I'll just kind of show you a couple areas here. We've pulled up a model coordination space, and this model coordination space that I have showing for you guys today is an office building. It's got 5 stories. I've used a combination of different model file types, from Revit to 3D DWG to IFC, and I've placed them in a model into a coordination space. And you can see the numbers on the right here. These are the numbers of the automated clashes that have been picked up once I place them in the space and give the machine a little bit of time to do its work. It pulls up and starts to generate these clashes directly for me, so I don't have to go through as a VDC manager and do this myself. I want to see this a little bit more concretely. I can switch over to my clash view here, and I can start to see a matrix. And still, this is still pretty complicated. You can see a heat map where some areas might have a number of clashes, like you can see our structural clashing with our I think this is our 4th floor architecture, so you can see the heat map. But I've also broken this out into different views where I can take a look at this a little bit more directly. And so I've broken these out onto the different floors, and so now I'm just looking at what floor I'm on. I'm looking on the 3rd floor. All this has happened automatically. The only thing I had to do on my end is create the space and drop these models in, and then create some views, which is really just choosing which models I wanted to save as a view. So it's a very quick, easy process, but you get the benefit of all this automation from that. Going into here, I was going to just click here on to just check out my 3rd floor MEP against my arc. This is what you see when you get in here, and so it's very clean. It's very easy to see that these are a number of different groupings here with 244 clashes to address. And if you didn't want to look at it from the from that MEP DWG side, you could switch to the ARC just as easily. It changes the clash groupings, changes the colors, maybe make it easier in some ways for you to go through and address these clashes. But for this example, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go back to my MEP, because one of the things that I did run into a lot as a VDC manager is just clashes that don't mean anything to me. I want to get rid of them as quickly as possible so that I can start to address the real coordination issues that I have on this project. And so one of those that I've identified over time is this design component within AutoCAD 3D in particular. You can see it. It's just kind of like a line that really that denotes those HVAC or piping uh, uh, alignments and line work. And so I can very quickly go through and I can grab all of these different clash groups here that are designed. I wait to get to solid. That starts to get to the actual model work. But now I have 37 of these, and I can just say these are not an issue. I can decide that this is that this is a this is just a a schematic idea here. I can click OK, and now I'm dealing with 207 clashes, and I'm dealing with a more direct idea of clashes. And if you're a VDC manager looking at this right now, you may see a number of other areas that are really not clashes, but I can't get rid of them all, or I won't have anything to show you guys. So what we want to do with the ones that we do care about is we want to be able to identify them quickly, and we want to be able to start acting on them. And so I'm going to look at this one right here in this cable tray. You can see that it has a number of different clashes across this floor. And so by grabbing this, I've created a grouping here, and all I have to do is create an issue, click on that, click a dot on the area to create that issue. And very quickly, I've now pulled all this information together and I'll have this issue is something that I can then go. I have a description. I have a screenshot. I can add additional references if I want to, but I can create this this coordination clash type and create this clash, which would be issue 1664, and I have that issue created, and now I'm able to take that issue, and now it becomes, it goes away from my list here, and I'm down to 202. So very quickly we can go through an entire set and coordinate, uh, dividing between the clashes that are the noise and the real clashes, and then we can very easily get into going into our project as a whole and being able to see those issues, be able to create reports from those issues. You can see that report right there. Already that issue is already created. You see a number of different types of clashes that we can then create and export as a PDF, Excel. If you want to put this into Power BI, there's a number of different ways that you can do this. And so this is just one way that we're able to help manage the rework within a design or construction coordination process, leveraging BIM Collaborate. The second area that we're going to take a look at here now is really about looking at how we can really start to get into model conditioning, and how we can start to leverage the model that we have and make it even more rich with data, and to give us more meaningful data points that'll allow us to be able to make more strategic decisions about project execution. And so you can see here, this is a great example of a design model here on the left, which looks great and has a lot of good information in it. But imagine if we can take a lightweight tool, we can apply some additional model conditioning to that, and then we're going to be able to separate out and really get a better view of what we're looking at here within the project itself. And some of the ways that we're going to highlight here today about some different ways that you can use this data to help condition your model would be within visualization, work breakdown structures, work in place tracking, as well as schedule management. And we'll take a look at a few of those here as we move through. So these are the areas. I'll run through a little bit more detail of these before we dive into Assemble, which is what we're going to be using here to help us condition those models. And I can show you in real time what that looks like and what you can do with it. So when we talk about model conditioning, we're talking about, starting with a lot of cases, a model we're going to get, from the design side. They're more and more the beginning are becoming more and more data rich. More and more of organizations are really pumping a lot of information into their model families, and that's great. But it's probably not going to catch everything that downstream users, particularly on the construction side, or even later on within operations, that you're going to need. So ability to condition that model and to add additional properties to that model is key. And so using Assemble, we're going to be able to break down, do things like break down our model into relevant scopes. We're going to be able to, get into, advanced work packaging, for example, or be able to add schedule information, be able to add installation status and whatnot. So right here on our Assemble properties, you can see these under this project management tab here. These are a number of custom properties that we've been able to add, and you can add anything that you can imagine for a custom property to tie directly to actual model elements within, and then we can even go through a process to apply a color by property to those, which is going to help us be able to see that. I probably said that one slide too early, but put that in the back of your head here for another 20 seconds. So within change management, we're able to look at how we can show changes on a model as well. So being able to look at the models as they progress, you'll be able to see what's changed from one to the next, and actually have the variance in the actual quantity takeoffs of those, which will definitely help streamline what's changed. You can see what's changed. You can validate that against, the change orders that you're working on, the estimates that you're making, make smarter decisions. And then finally, we can look at work in place tracking, where you can leverage our mobile app to be able to go out into the field and to update installation statuses, within the system itself. You can then have them, colorized, where it's visually very easy, from anywhere to see, what that status is looking at, and it's very easy to quickly access those views to update those properties. And then when we talk about scheduling, we're still working in the industry on best practices on how to usefully, I would say, or practically attach schedules to BIM data. There's been a lot of different ways people do it, and I think one of the the largest ways that we get that is from visualization. But from the visualization side, that's one thing. But if you're able to connect, your work breakdown structures, into your model using assemble properties, you're going to be able to really break down and have a much more complete view, and in seeing how this information is coming across. And then for you data scientists out there, and other people that are really into the data side, pulling all this into Power BI integration. Assemble has a really great Power BI integration that allows dashboards to be created directly from the Assemble databases. And so the more information you're putting in here, the more information you're getting access to from the Power BI side. And I've seen some pretty amazing Power BI integrations to Assemble data-rich models, and being able to pull that information and being able to really have the power of the data, moving your project forward, helping you to identify risk, helping you to identify areas of concern long before they become rework and before they start to cost you money and time. So we'll close out here for a couple minutes. I'm going to show you a little bit around Assemble. So this is a symbol in my Francis Hall school project, and this is another one of our tools. Very easy for you to access. It's web-based. You just pull up the URL. It's very simple to give access to everyone on your team and very easy to see visibly, even before you click into any of these, what's going on in these different views and what's happening with it. And to just kind of level set here from the Assemble side, what Assemble is doing is really publishing out all of the information within that model, and in putting it in a way that lets you be able to consume that information. You can see all the element objects that we have here within the different models that we have within this project, as well as being able to go and click on any of these different views and be able to see the inventory of the views. So if I click into that Francis Hall architectural and mechanical, I can see all the different items that are in this. I can see the takeoff of what ceilings I have and what floors I have. I can see all this information, whether I'm looking at it, from the inventory side, whether I look at it from the model tree, where you can see how many different counts of items that we have. All this is really great stuff for Assemble, but this is kind of Assemble 101. What we want to talk about today a little bit more is really those custom properties. And so clicking over here, I'm gonna turn my properties box on, and I've already selected you know, a facade wall right here. You can see it's in blue. I selected right there. And within there, first thing I can do is I can look at all of the different properties that have already come out of Assemble, and all of these things can be filtered and viewed, you know, and create different views and updates, you know, from there as well. But it's the real power is when we start to add in these different custom properties, right? So being able to add what bid package that those have been on, you know, and have that easily update, cost codes, what takeoff package we have, even installation status and other items, you know, here our work breakdown structure like we discussed earlier. But this is a way that we can continue to add more model information to the project. Another way that we can leverage this too is by grouping that, start to group that information by that not just by the category of what it is, but by the installation status, for example. So we made a custom property for installation status, and we did two things to it. I'll click on one of these. You can see, you know, where we have that information, that installation status right there. That's where we have it updated. It shows up in our inventory right here as an item that's installed, and we still have another 200 or so items that were not installed. But one way it makes it easy, you can really tell what's been installed here and what hasn't been, because we've created that color by property, and that's, you know, a very easy and visual way to be able to show how we can how we can see, you know, what's been installed and what's not been installed. And this is something that you very comes in very handy on the mobile side when we've created a view. You know, for example, this level 1 zone 1, we want to be able to see what's been installed and what hasn't, and be able to very quickly update that. And so if we're out on site and we see these two items right here, we want to mark them as installed. Um, so it's very easy for us to go in there and click from an installation status of not installed to installed. Click save, and the color updates, our quantities update. All of this information updates itself for us to be able to leverage on that. And this getting some double duty here, taking a look at, as well as our schedules. This is another way that we've been able to work with a lot of different organizations to help really practice good phasing of projects, be able to start to put the schedule integrations in together. Imagine this on a large data center, or you know, I've worked at a large customer on a battery center where we've had to phase installations of, you know, 1,500 different, you know, battery stations, and being able to leverage that with these custom properties, be able to show it by color so they can see what's been put together, what's on site, when things are supposed to start. You can start to filter by this information. It really unlocks the power of in the eye of BIM in a very meaningful way. So this is an area for us that I'm super passionate about. It's why I joined Autodesk. It's to really help work with number of different organizations across the world to leverage the information that you already have and to really make the best out of it, and to help put big dents into some of the largest challenges we have in the industry. One of which, I think the largest one, would be the cost of rework within the industry. And so these are a couple of ways that we've done that here at Autodesk, leveraging BIM Collaborate as well as Assemble. I really appreciate the time you guys have given me today to speak with you, and I'm definitely looking forward to any questions you may have, and I'll turn it back over to our host now today.
Thanks, Mike. And as Mike said, we're going to shift gears and jump into some Q&A. Mike's kind of expecting to get grilled here, so don't hold back. If you have some questions, just punch them into the box on your right, and we'll aim to get to them over the next 10 minutes or so. And just to get us started here, Mike, one here is, can you apply BIM on small jobs, or can some be too small? Is there a threshold for making it worthwhile?
Yeah, that's a great question. I've always been the proponent that there isn't a job too small to leverage BIM and to leverage these tool sets on. I think it really was more about it's really more of a question of access rather than whether the project can benefit from it. If you have access to these tools, whether you're working in a small, maybe it's a small area remodel, I've gotten great benefit out of coordination in a small space compared to maybe a large retail establishment or a large manufacturing facility. So I think there's value if you've got the resources and you've got the people that are willing to leverage it. You're going to get those benefits whether it's a large or small project.
Right, great. And the next one here is there a winning strategy for convincing management to adopt these tools, ROI or otherwise?
Yeah, welcome to my world. Back in the day, when I started really leveraging BIM in construction at my organization, I did have management support to tell me that let me go out there and start to make progress in that area. But that didn't necessarily mean that my projects were going to get funded for this type of work, and it was a little bit of a challenge. So in one thing that you have to, I guess, come to terms with is that there is going to be some internal selling involved, right? And in those cases, in the early days, I started with just a few different items that I would focus on, and one of those was information in the field as well as initial model coordination. And I got a couple of projects to hear me out and to give me a small budget to show that ROI. In those cases, the amount of budget I think that they spent, I think I was getting like a half of 1% of the project budget. So it was very small, but the amount we were able to do because these tools are starting to automate and to help us collaborate more quickly, we can do things, we can do more with less time. And so that's where you really start to show that ROI. And the first time you catch a potential project breaking rework situation is probably the last time you'll ever have to worry about credibility using these tools, because it's going to show that saved that project, and the rest of the projects will fall in line and want to have that same benefit as well.
Awesome. And another one here is, can these projects be used on infrastructure? Or sorry, products. Can these products be used on infrastructure?
Yes, we have a number of different ways that these are being leveraged. That's more into the infrastructure world and the civil 3D world. Those are areas that we are leveraging these tools as well. That's not something I'm doing every day, but it is something that we do work with.
Right. And another is, do you need a dedicated BIM or VDC manager to implement these tools?
Well, I would say it helps, but if you have if you have someone on your project team that's willing to get a little bit of skill into some of these areas, it doesn't take a whole lot of support in order for you to get some of these rolling. Particularly in the BIM collaborate area, I would say having someone that is spearheading the VDC activity, I think is going to help. It doesn't need to be something that they do on a full-time basis. I've seen those managers also, be in the roles of, project engineers or construction managers, doing these. Although when you get to a larger scale and you really want to leverage everything that you can, I do think it does help to have a dedicated VDC resource.
Sure, makes sense. And next here is, what file types are supported?
Yeah, that's great. Great question. Within the BIM Collaborate side, the model coordination is supported with with Revit files, IFC files, and DWG files. And so that captures a large amount of different ways that, even if those aren't those file types, they can get to those file types, and it helps to make it more accessible for projects, as a whole. Same thing with on the assemble side. They have that very similar situation from the file types, although you can publish and assemble out of Navisworks. And so in that case, being able to publish from Navisworks really opens up a number of additional file types that Navisworks can manage, because they manage dozens, and that information can be translated into Assemble, and you can create those custom properties on top of that.
Awesome, thanks. And we're coming up on the final question here. Unless anybody else, make sure you punch yours in now. Otherwise, we're going to be signing off shortly. So Mike, here's the last one.
Okay.
Do you have any tips on how to get field teams to adopt something like Assemble?
Yeah, I've got a couple of examples. The most recent one, before I left to join Autodesk, I was really working with my field teams on Assemble integration in two ways that we did that. We're really identifying some areas where they were already having to do reporting, and one of those was, on the monthly scrub meetings, having to track some installation status. And so we started with some simple things of that installation status, and I got one of the I would admit it, one of the younger guys on site that really wanted to dig in and to level up his skills. He became, one of our internal champions, to help just do those things on that first initial level. But what we did see from that, was that the field teams really leveraged the information that we got from it. So whether they're doing it themselves, or they're having, a smaller team help generate that information for them, our field team started to see the value in the data that was being captured, and they were leveraging the data. We didn't, that's something that we'll continue to work on. But I think, as we're moving through, and the customers and the organizations I'm working with right now are very much into, work packaging, scheduling, installation status. These are all big initiatives that we're finding field teams wanting to do more, and because they're wanting to do it now, then they'll finally really adopt that change and adopt technology.
Awesome. And actually, one more
Hmm.
found its way in here, so you're not quite off the hook yet.
Okay.
Is the class detection and collaboration all handled within Revit, or is another add-on program required?
No, the clash detection within BIM Collaborate is within its own model coordination area, right? So it's leveraging the files and things from Revit and from, AutoCAD or IFC, but it's really working it in its own system separately. We do have a couple of different add-ins that we've created to help tie those issues into the larger project spectrum. And one of those ways is being able to leverage and see the issues that are created in a project within Revit itself. And so now it's easier for you to be able to see those issues within the authoring tool itself. But we also have that capability to show these issues and to create issues within Navisworks as well. So if you're still in a Navisworks centric coordination area, which pretty much most of the industry still is, you can still leverage this type of tool and have those issues be visible across more of your project lifecycle.
Awesome, sounds good. And looks like Mike, you got everybody up to speed and right on time. We're at about quarter 2 now. So
Awesome.
once again, I just want to thank our sponsor, Autodesk Construction Cloud, for making this webinar possible. And thanks everyone for listening in. Just so everybody knows, we'll be making a recording of this webinar available shortly. So probably within a day or two, you should be able to get a link to it. And beyond that, I hope everyone has a great afternoon and thanks for listening in.